Good morning to all my co-conspirators and those who wish us harm. How you guys doing today? Smoking some McClellan number 27 matured Virginia, and my bones bent something or other. It's bones and it's bent, and that's about all I know. Forgive the noise. Couldn't get away from it today, which is highly appropriate for this video. Anyway, there's my pipe. I'm going to answer some more questions. You guys are sending in more than I feel like I can answer in a one video per week format, so I'll just answer them as I see fit. That's cool with me. Pipe smoking board gamer wants to know how much is a cheap mic for my phone. Apparently not cheap enough. I would like to have one though, so if anybody wants to donate or start a GoFundMe or anything like that, let me know. Sorry for all the extraneous noise, but such is life. Albany pipe smoker asked, should pipe smokers be labeled as smokers? I don't think we should be labeled as anything, but I understand your question. When I hear the word smokers, I think cigarette smokers. I think that's what most people think when they hear smoke. Do you smoke? Are you smoking? They assume it's cigarettes. I don't think they're the same thing in any respect, other than you're burning tobacco. I've heard many people say their doctor told them it was, acceptable to them if they smoked a few bowls a week or something like that. I can't imagine a doctor saying it's okay if you smoke a few cigarettes a week. So I think they should be separate, but they probably won't be. By the people that want to label you as anything, they're going to do it regardless of what the facts are surrounding the issue. But you seem to ask the question because someone is needling at you about it. My best advice is just to gather some facts about pipe smoking and present them to them. Stand up for what it is you like. That's about all I got to say about that one. Cobbett of the Shire says, if I could visit any country and interact with ordinary folks, where would I go? I would love to go to the British Isles. Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, the Faroe Islands. I think if I had to narrow it down to one, it would come down to between Scotland and Ireland, and I would probably choose Ireland. But I've heard so many good things about that entire area. The hospitality of the local people, the natural beauty of the place, and everything is just very appealing to me. So let's go to Ireland. Frosty Piper made a comment on one of my question videos, not question and answer, but the ones where I ask the questions. the one about the 3 bands you would erase. He asked me a question: what if I could only listen to 3 bands ever for the rest of my life? Which 3 bands would I pick? That, my friend, is a challenging question, because I would have a hard time narrowing it down to 30. Anybody that's seen any of my videos where I talk about music, that would be a difficult task. So to narrow it down to 3, I had to give myself some criteria. They would have to be different kinds of bands. Then I couldn't pick, or I wouldn't pick, like Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath, and Deep Purple, because they're all the same basic genre, the same basic feel. You know what I mean? So I'd have to have 3 different kinds of bands. And they would have to have a pretty extensive catalog for me to choose from. I wouldn't want to choose a band such as like Boston that only made 3 albums or whatever. I think they made a 4th one eventually. So the 3 I came up with were Government Mule, because I love the band. They have a fairly deep catalog, and they have an absolute unlimited treasure of live shows that are available, that they've released, that are out there. Tape traders and stuff like that have released a bunch of them. They're all over the place, free of charge, legal. They just give it away, basically. So that would be one of them. The other one was from a completely different style of music. And that would be bluegrass, Americana, flat picking guitar kind of stuff. And I settled on Norman Blake. He has a very deep catalog of some great music. He picks and writes some great songs to do. He's a killer guitar player. His voice isn't inherently annoying, as quite a few people in that genre are. So that would be who I would go with there. Government Mule, Norman Blake. And the third one I considered someone from the jazz world. And it would be difficult not to pick them. And that would be John Coltrane. But I think inevitably I would go with Rush. They've never put anything out that I didn't like. They're a great live band. Just an unbelievably underrated band, in my opinion. They've got all different, I mean, they went through these eras or epochs or whatever you want to call them, where they would release maybe 3 or 4 albums from one style, and then they would shift completely. And they did that about 6 times in their career. And they went back and revisited some of those styles as they progressed through their career. But they have enough stuff out there that can keep me interested for a long time. And every time I listen to them, I find something new, find some little intricacy that I never heard before or something like that. So there you have it. Government Mule, Norman Blake, and Rush. Let's see. Francis Barnett. Paraphrasing here. He's talking about Kennedy's "ask not what you could do for your country" speech, or quote, actually, that specific line. He phrased it in a way that was something like, if Kennedy were alive today and made that speech, what would I do, or what could I do for my country? First of all, I don't think something like that should be defined by the era. It's just as relevant today, if not more relevant than it was when he said it. Same thing with like some of the Founding Fathers speeches and some of the things they said. They could apply more more deeply today in context with what's going on than they could even when they said them. And I think this is a quote like that. So what could I do, or what would I do? Get involved. That's one big thing. I mean, definitely vote. You mentioned pay your taxes. That's obviously something you can do. Sorry, it might get loud. And I can't pause this. I think the number one thing you can do is educate yourself. Educate yourself on the issues and the candidates that are dealing with those issues. You should know as much or more about it than they do, and then question them about it. Call them, write them, find out what their stance is on things, pressure them, tell them what you believe. People say, oh, it doesn't work writing your congressman. I've had good and bad results. But I tell you this, if it's just me writing my congressman, or if it's just me calling, you're right, it has no effect whatsoever. But if 500,000 people or 40 million people all of a sudden got involved, things would change. Especially if they did so from an educated standpoint, knew what they were talking about, and weren't just out yelling in the streets and throwing rocks and crap like that. There's a lot of ways you can do for your country. You can serve it in a myriad of ways. You can volunteer. All kinds of stuff you can do, but I think one of the most important things you could do is actually know what's going on. Try to find out. It's possible to do that. It takes a little work, but it's worth it. This is kind of a follow-up from last week's Q&A. C.J. Piper, first of all, he made one comment in reference to the marijuana legalization. And his comment was something along the lines of, I'm glad that you've lived a pain-free life. I assume he's talking about not needing CBDs and things like that. Well, I thought in that last video I separated the two, medical and recreational, fairly plainly. And I think they should remain a separate issue. As for not having a life of pain, I suffer from chronic pain. I've had 3 back surgeries, major nerve damage in my right leg. I could give you a list of all the things that are wrong with me, but it would sound like I was complaining. I've had more surgeries than back surgeries. I've got conditions that can't be cured. I have had and continue to have a very tumultuous relationship with opioids. I understand. I get it. That doesn't mean I think marijuana should be legal. Like I said in that other video, if you can find a medicinal use for it, let science and medicine push it and use it. That doesn't mean, Carl should be able to go down to his drugstore and buy a bag of pot. My opinion. And then he said, given my stance on California, I don't think this question was worded quite the way he intended to, but he says, do you want officials making any laws? Well, I think that's part of the problem in California. The laws that they've made are detrimental rather than beneficial. I'm not a big proponent of creating a ton of laws unless they have a place, a purpose. I'm not against taking people's liberties away. But I believe if you're going to make laws, make them beneficial. And the question comes up, who defines what's beneficial? Well, that's another debate altogether. I believe context, I believe history, I believe the people, I believe science. All these things should be taken into account. Economics, crime, all that stuff should be taken into account before they make a law. California seems to be, and it's not alone in this. I'm not picking on California. It seems to be a state where they make laws because they can. Hey, I'm a lawmaker. Let's go make some laws. Okay, are we going to make good laws or bad laws? Who cares? Let's just make some laws. Reminds me of an episode of MASH. I think they were being shelled by artillery or something like that. Frank Burns is running around. Do something, do anything. And Hawkeye says, I agree with Frank. We should do anything. That's the feeling I get from a lot of lawmakers. Just do anything. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if it helps or hurts. You could do just about anything. Half the people are going to cheer you. Half the people are going to boo you. They never seem to hear the boos. So, that's what I got about that. Do I think they should make laws? I think they should clearly define what the laws are trying to accomplish and then bring them to the people. let their opinions be heard. And then make laws that can withstand the test of the Constitution. If they can't, don't make them. The courts are too tied up with all kinds of crap. There's no reason lawmakers should be overloading the courts with cases because they make bad law. And that's what they do. Well, I hope that answered your question. If it doesn't, you need me to clarify something or dig further, I'll be happy to. Or if you have something specific you were thinking of. Keep the questions coming. I enjoy them. I made a playlist, Q&A, so you can go back. Some of these I have a feeling are going to be threaded. I mean, there's going to be questions that are going to run through 4 or 5 videos, I have a feeling. So you can go back and catch up on them if you want. Anyway, keep the questions coming. I really, really appreciate them. Until next time, you guys enjoy your pipe and ignore the hype.